They will resume again next week.
So now
there is no rain in the forecast.
YouTube, vertical,
what are you doing at this point to earn back people's trust and to make sure these mistakes don't happen again?
Well, first of all, I think that was addressed at the beginning of the press conference by Kevin McGowan.
I would like that from you. I don't. You're the top official here.
So let me just be clear. I am going to spend every moment that I can making sure that I am in as many areas as.
I appreciate y'all tapping in. It's your boy, the Hip Hop Lobbyist. I got another commercial.
On the phone with 911 as someone is trying to break in.
Recovery. But I also mentioned that we're moving into recovery mode at the same time, meaning that we want to see the city rebuilt. We want to see Los Angeles come together. Let me finish. We want to see Los Angeles come together.
They're not zooming in on us. I don't have to zoom in on over here. Millions of people here who get these alerts. They are ignoring them. You still have red flag warnings in effect. There is a real threat here. What is your message to your constituents? Let me turn this up, turn me down.
I want the residents of Los Angeles region to have faith in what we are doing 24 hours a day. I can say on behalf of our first responders, from the fire department, the police department, we are doing everything we can to bring the situation under control, and success has been reported. We know that we're going to have a possible increase in the force of the winds at the beginning of next week, and getting Los Angeles prepared, doing everything we can to save lives. That is our #1 job, to protect people's homes, to protect people's businesses, and to prepare to rebuild Los Angeles in a much better way. We're going to stand united. We're going to stand together, and we are not going to allow politics to interfere, and we're not going to allow people to divide us for political gain. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Bass. One over here.
Bob DeCastro from Good Day LA, Fox 11. Just to follow up on that, because even after yesterday that errant message was sent out to Los Angeles County, some 10 million people, overnight, people were still receiving many messages, and we were even fielding calls from our own newsroom from people as far as San Bernardino that were receiving calls. You have no idea why people are getting these alerts and being startled in the middle of the night when they're already on edge in the Inland Empire. Why is that happening? You have no idea. And you also asked that people verify and get onto a website. Not everybody has the ability to jump on a website when they're panicked to try and figure out whether or not this is an actual
man is going to work over
here.
Thank you,
and I appreciate the thoughts you're sharing and the question. I would take a second to explain how the alert system works. There's an enter and evacuation warning, and you identify a geographical area. After you initiate that then transitions, I'll call it for lack of better terms, into a cloud that connects with all of our cell service providers.
That ain't no TikTok dance.
The root cause analysis is trying to establish where along that sequence there is an error going on. And in addition to that, it is important to understand that the cellular phone towers have different reach in how they're activating the message to the cell phone.
That is, appreciate you.
And so it's a common phenomenon that there's a term called bleed over, where a cell phone that may be in a different jurisdiction or a different area is receiving that message from a cellular tower that may be geographically in a different space. So right now our #1 priority is to establish how we can work with our, in coordination with our federal and state partners, how we can stop the messages that are going out right now that are not being initiated by human action.
That's my concern. Is the city of LA, is there system
to stop that, and then understand how that occurred.
If the system was hacked, it would make sense why people would get alerts, and
so that the tool can still be used for what was identified as like a critical fire weather that we're still in experiencing and will continue to experience.
So can I just follow up on that? The bottom line is we are going to drill down, because I too got the alert. I got 2 alerts, and then I got an alert telling me to disregard the alerts. And, you know, as someone who has communities that are on edge, that are lined up, and I'm sure Mayor Gordo has the same situation going on as well.
Some of them,
they're on pins and needles thinking that they're next. So we're drilling down right now, and the way it's described to me is there are towers that are now powering up, and it's up in this cloud. It's kind of like when you send an email and it goes into draft, and then once you hit internet, it gets sent. Similar, but my question is, why can't we turn it off? And the answers we're getting are not satisfying. I'm not making any excuses. It's unacceptable. And it is frustrating because we are asking people to trust us, to believe us when we say evacuate. So if we're going to tell them to evacuate, we better make darn sure we're targeting the right people.
So what she's saying for real is the vendor they hired, I would say either they got hacked or they're about to lose that contract, because there has to be, government doesn't say, okay, cool, we're going to create this and do it, right? They go buy something, buy a product, contract a service, and they have an emergency alert service that can send the text messages out. This is my major assumption. Understand how some parts of government work, right? So what they're basically saying is the vendor has a system that's kind of effed up, right? And the vendor sent the alerts out to everybody in LA, but now we have to sit here and eat crow for it because this is the vendor that's probably been through the procurement system or whatever to get this. But those alerts, they about to lose that contract. So that means that if you're in that space, you have a business, you want to make some introductions, let the smoke settle, let everything clear, and get ready to make some introductions, right? Because you have to position yourself now as the next company that's not going to make this happen, that you're going to be cutting edge, you're going to be on top of what you need to, and these type of alerts won't happen. So that's the breakdown of what's happening. So everybody on stage is eating crow right now because guess what? They have to bear the blunt of the burden of having that bad contract, that bad vendor.
So I just want to make it clear to you.
And now here's
Thank
where
you,
we
Chair
are, man.
Barger. We are at time. We're over time. Thank you.
Everybody
we will
tapped
do
into the stream. I
one-on-ones.
appreciate
If
you
you
being
need
here
assistance,
between
please come see
YouTube,
me or a member
Twitch.
of the team.
YouTube twice.
Thank you,
We on
speakers,
vertical
again.
and
Thank you all
horizontal.
for attending.
Or landscape, whatever you want to do. You see the number. We're gonna if you know anybody in LA, I have family in LA region, Anaheim, Los Angeles, all the way through. People impacted, smelling the smoke, whatever. But if you could translate this, just make sure it gets to the right people. I don't know who may be watching here, but these fires are a bit ridiculous, right? It speaks to the global warming piece. It speaks to a lot of where things we need to fix in the country, right? Because I think it's less about some things like the president, who that's nice and all, but I don't think that's the end all be all. You feel me? I think that there's a lot of different things that play a role in
the Alpine area last night, and the common question was, how do I navigate the insurance process, and will I be able to get insured again?
So how does all this play a role?
And so I felt it was important for us to hear from our insurance commissioner, who's been very engaged on this issue. And then I just want to say to everyone, you know, I've been out and I've heard from my residents, and I've
check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded this car.
Atlanta snowed in today.
Okay, you ready? $118
Atlanta snowed in heavy.
Insurance. That's how much I was paying. Okay?
That's
I picked up the car a few months ago and watched this.
Unfortunate thing in the A.
$97 premium. $20 were my fees. $118. Now I covered up my private information, guys. $39.
Let's copy and paste it up. Let's get to the A. See what they're talking about.
Since about 11 o'clock, rather 10:30, past hour or so. It's lightened up. So that is some good news. So that is some good news. And we've a really heavy presence from GDOT. They have brought, you know, the plows through, also that salt mixture right over here on this side exit. So we've seen them kind of just continuously come through this area to try to clear these roads.
It was pretty bad in Atlanta last time I had some snow like this.
A little bit
I had some associates and friends who were stuck on the interstate, had to sleep in their cars all night. Imagine you sleeping in downtown Atlanta traffic 6 lanes across because your car can't move. It's kind of crazy. Global warming, I think it could be a thing, but it's a lot, man. You have the fires there, you got the hurricanes, the Carolinas still impacted through the hurricanes, the insurance companies, like, again, Even though snow may not play as huge of a damaging factor as the storms in LA and the hurricanes, I think the insurance issues still could be in Georgia that are everywhere else. And that's a major thing. Insurance to me is the biggest scam. They talk about the scammers, but no, insurance is one of the biggest scams in America. It doesn't honestly make sense, again, how you can pay into a system for your home, for your health, for your dental, whatever. Then all of a sudden you need something, you have to pay a deductible, you have to pay for something else because it's not there. But let's tap into the news and see what they're talking about. I'm going to grab some water and find my brush, because my brush, I haven't used it this morning. And my hair needs a brush. Let me check the chat before I hop out, because they say that I need to talk to the chat when I'm on the stream. But this is interesting.
You're still dealing with snow, but you can see here the pink shading indicating a wintry mix. What is that comprised of? Mostly sleet. There could be some areas of freezing rain, which would mean that the ice threat is starting to increase. But as we look down to the south,
some other people. I don't know if my dog Jalasian's still here. I appreciate you tapping in, Jalasian. I know people at work right now on a Friday. I have work calls coming up, so this won't be a long stream, but just more of an informative thing where I want to at least build a base of consistency of, okay, what's my setup need to look like to stream some news? Because it's going to be a mix of gaming. You get my gaming channel, Hip Hop Lobbyist Gaming. You also have my political channel. This is here, Hip Hop Lobbyist, streaming on Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok right now. But it's just crazy to think that we have the fires on one end of the world. We have Georgia under snow, and people want to talk about other things. I mean, I get it. There's so many natural disasters that are out here. Then you also have Congress that are doing their thing right now with some of these members about immigration and the military immigration. I know I have to skip over to that because from what I saw earlier, Ted Cruz was having a field day with one of these elected members, man. And I want to watch that with y'all on the stream. And I may do another one later tonight. If I don't do Armorer Forger, I may tap in and really just do some more, like a weekly recap of everything, right? As you know, building out the channel, I need to get a consistent base of day to build out for people to tap in, watch the stream. I'm thinking every morning after daycare, right? So my main schedule is, my wife's a teacher, so she's out of here like 6 in the morning. I'm taking my son to daycare, and it could be between 7:30 to 8:39, right? Then I start my day. I normally try to, have my work meetings mid-morning, try to get everything in before a certain time of the day. And, have something there. But I'm thinking like a either daily or weekly show, right? That kind of, maybe 2 times a week. That kind of recaps everything, see where we are in the world politically to tap in. Maybe a Tuesday and a Friday, right? I know that this next week, if you don't know, I'm a lobbyist by trade, hip hop lobbyist. I've been doing it 15 years. And we have our first committee week for the 2025-2026 legislative session next week. So I'll be actually traveling a bit next week. Oh, so my mic, we're back. I'll be traveling a bit next week. So it'll be a little tough for me to do a show unless I'm doing it from my phone and laptop, which I like my background, right? And I'm kind of spoiling myself. I want to, record in my office, but we got to make content anywhere we can these days. So most likely I'll record something next week, maybe do a live stream from the Capitol. I got my Meta Ray-Bans. Let me actually, all right, they're already out of the case. Let me put these holes on. So, I could, see that light glare on this. They said it's supposed to be anti-glare. It must be anti-glare from the sun because I can see all these lights. Y'all can see the whole setup. So I got my Meta Ray-Bans, going to record some content, show you what it's like in the legislative process when you're actually, I could kind of shut that down, right? When you're actually in the process and what it looks like from a diversity, equity, inclusion standpoint, a process standpoint, and what it looks like to get things done politically across the board, right? So my biggest thing is educating folks around the different narratives in politics. I don't like the ignorance a lot of our communities have when it comes to process, when it comes to actually influencing change and things that people really get so emotionally tied to that really don't impact your quality of life. Like if you're in the military and talking about, wars, veteran benefits, things of that nature, of course you're going to care. They're talking about Social Security, Medicaid, things of that nature. You're older, of course you're going to care. But when it comes to a younger generation, I think there's a major disconnect between the way the process works and the way we interpret and actually move into it. So, of course, I'm making my content now off today's live news, but I also feel that it's needed. Oh, Atlanta's back. Hold on, let me pop this back up since they're there. I think that it's also needed to help have an avenue of somebody who educates them based on what they do. But I want my show to basically be an informative piece of, an informative piece to the people. I see today, just got a text that, I probably switched this over. Let me see if I can find it first. Let me see if I can find this first. Is it new? Uh-oh. They said Ron DeSantis has said he will not appoint himself to replace Rubio as senator. Let me see if I can find a press conference from DeSantis today. That's my man right there, Ronnie D. All right, let's see what this my man talking about.
Still on the fence about your decision?
Let's see what Ronnie D talking about. Because Atlanta, I guess they snowed out. I got family there too. Everybody sent their pictures this morning. They seem to be pretty well. What's happening to Governor DeSantis here?
Well, first of all, a governor's primary responsibility is to go to work to keep their state safe. And I have to say, one of the things we talk about as governors all the time is preparing and responding and then recovering after a natural disaster. What's been happening in Los Angeles has been horrific, and I think first and foremost our hearts pour out to all of those folks who have lost their homes, lost their livelihoods, and are really being driven out. I also believe that there does need to be some action, and I think that collectively between federal governments and state governments, we all work together to address these things. But let me just go right back to it. What's happening in California right now is absolutely heart-wrenching and horrific. And I think we're going to need help from the entire country in order for them to recover.
Does anyone else want to speak to that? Because you all, as governors, obviously deal with emergencies. Often you have to work with the federal government. Sometimes it's your party. Sometimes it's not.
For DeSantis to be standing there,
the idea of
knowing he wanted to be president, but
Donald
it's
Trump
like
criticizing a governor in the middle of a disaster.
Trump ain't even entertain you, bro. Other would do his hand in his pocket look kind of weird.
Well, first of all, I mean, when Donald Trump was president, he responded very strongly to natural disasters. I can tell you, he responded very positively in Florida, but he also responded favorably when there were Democrat governors. And I think he understands the importance of these situations. You know, I will note, I mean, you talk about, you know, what you're doing. I remember when we had our hurricanes this past hurricane season. We had Hurricane Helene, and Florida, we're locked and loaded for this. We respond. But then you go to North Carolina, and it was like a third world country all of a sudden. There was no sense of urgency from the federal government. I think the state government didn't do very well.
That doesn't even make sense, Ron.
I'm sending my assets up there to help rescue people. Florida, the State Guard is up there doing that. And I think the administration was asleep at the switch. Then Milton came, and they knew that they had suffered some political negativity of that. So I have Harris trying to pick a fight with me in the middle of Hurricane Milton, saying, oh, he's not taking my calls. I tell you, she never called me in my whole tenure as governor on any natural disasters, and I'm not sure she's done very much on this one, even though she's there. So, you know, these things are go how they go, but I can tell you, and I'll say the same with Biden. I worked well with Biden during his time in natural disasters, and I worked well with Donald Trump. So I'm very confident as a state that knows we face these, that a Trump administration is going to be very strong and is going to be there for the people regardless of party.
That's not even. That's not even. I can stop that there. That's not even. I don't even want to hear the rest of this. From a man Ronnie D right there, he's pitching for that U.S. Senate seat or something else because everybody knows he plans on running for president again. after the Trump thing lines up. But it's like you're trying to highlight North Carolina having, I guess, the Democratic piece, they're unorganized, the federal government, whatever, right? But you were walking toe-and-toe with Biden when the hurricanes hit, Key West? Like, y'all was sitting in the room, hugged up, buddied up, like Trump and Obama yesterday at Jimmy Carter funeral. It's something else. Actually, let's finish this.
Is it appropriate for people in your industry to try to create division and to try to create narratives anytime these things happen? Now, you're not as interested in doing that because Newsom is a D. If Newsom was a Republican, you guys would go you would have him nailed to the wall for what they're doing over there. And I know we've dealt with it. We just assume in Florida, anytime something happens, it's going to be politicized by the media. So you guys sitting in judgment of Donald Trump, I mean, excuse me, I think your track record of politicizing these things is very, very bad.
Okay, last question. Newsom should resign and that the wildfires are all his fault. So do you agree with those comments?
I remember when we had the Surfside Tower collapse, I had people from the Washington Post trying to blame me for it immediately without having any facts or anything. Oh, he didn't declare a state of emergency. First of all, state of emergency doesn't mean you can't respond. It's all that. Excuse me?
Biden did it. I think that's what she's saying.
Well, but what I'm telling you is you guys are trying to make an issue of it when I have watched from this seat. In fact, when I got elected governor, I was meeting with some of the other Republican governors, and what they would say is, hey, if you have a natural disaster, just know media's coming at you. They're going to do it. It's not the same. That mayor of LA, if that were a Republican mayor, I could...
No, you could tell by the lady in the red coat by her facial expression, because I'll give you this. I haven't always worked in politics. I used to be a bag boy at Winn-Dixie, right? And I could tell by the lady's expression, just in time, even selling women's shoes at Dillard's, you can tell when these old ladies don't like you, right? I don't see it. This lady in the red coat, she's basically saying like, bro, this isn't your press conference, bro. Your name is not on the banner, bro.
I can only imagine what that would do. I mean, the fires are at high risk, and you try to go to Africa or wherever she was to go on some type of voyage. You should have been there preparing and doing that, and yet I don't see a lot of heat being directed.
Look at Buddy in the blue. Look at the Buddy in the blue suit too.
I'd like to see some balance on how this is done.
You can tell. You saw. Look. His whole movement. He looked side to side, looked back, blinked, and put his head down like, bro.
The Republican governor.
Look at him. Somebody had to come and take over.
Accept the president-elect's invitation to come
but
here.
I don't have a problem with Ronnie D.
Have a collaborative working
because guess what? Ronnie D is the governor. I'm a lobbyist in Florida, and I need my projects across that veto pen, baby. I don't have the fact that this isn't even a Ron DeSantis thing. This is a Democrats thing. I'll be honest. Like, I don't have an issue with DeSantis. I have an issue with the fact that people don't like how stern the Republicans are in their positions. And they get someone who's so brave. And we want to make sense of shit. Right? I just don't understand why we always have to make sense. Like, I like to fight dirty. I'm petty. I'm petty, nasty petty. Right? Like, when text messaging was happening, first time in campaigns, I know they overloaded on campaigns now. I put my opponent's whole campaign team on a text thread just for them. So they were getting me, bro. It's all, friendly competition. But there's a point of saying that we need Democratic kid in the red coat and the blue suit dude, whichever governors they were, even though their facial expression said, okay, DeSantis in this press conference. I do feel a part of it also said like, bruh. Let's go back to some of this LA stuff though. The alleged arsonist, no, I don't want to see that. Let's look at some of the destruction because I think it's kind of crazy. If you are watching this video, it's because you live in Jacksonville and I think it's kind of crazy that this is happening.
Hi, I'm Premium Wireless for $15 a month at Mint Mobile. When I Premium Wireless for $15 a month.
All right. Things gonna be very ugly. These ain't even a wildfire. This is just people talking. Oh, there they go. About what, 1 or 2 houses? Palisades fire. Let's look at the aerial view, man. Call of Duty match, no funny. The ruined city, like this looks like something you would about to hop off the plane, a war zone. Island, you feel me? This is not America. And again, the crazy part about this is the insurance company's going to look at this too. The houses alone are like 3.5 million. The people working there in the service industries or whatever, restaurants, whatever it could have been, it's going to be expensive rebuild. And I want to just honestly say we need to have a deeper discussion about insurance after this. Of course, life, safety, everything else, but the insurance market is going to have to be, I guess, really assessed, because how can you operate federally? Think about it. How can you operate and you sell these bundle packages, State Farm, Progressive, whoever. You have these bundle packages that you sell, but then you go tell folks that basically you're not going to cover fire.
Starting today, anyone can monetize with ads.
How could you not cover fire in a state that has wildfires? Again, how can you not cover fires in a state that has wildfires?
We are getting some breaking news. We want to take you now to our local CBS coverage.
Oh, that's 2 days ago. It's old.
Trucks get up here in the last hour, but they haven't been able to be here all day up until an hour ago. And so we've watched the embers.
Trump has got out. Trump got out pretty easy for the hush money campaign.
Would your client like to be heard?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. This has been a very terrible experience. I think it's been a tremendous setback for New York and the New York court system. This is a case that Alvin Bragg did not want to bring. He thought it was, from what I read and from what I hear, inappropriately handled before he got there. A gentleman from a law firm came in and acted as a district attorney, and that gentleman, from what I heard, was a criminal or almost criminal in what he did. It was very inappropriate. It was somebody involved with my political opponent. Part of the records that we're talking about, they're saying, I just noticed where he said I was falsifying business records. Well, the falsification of business records, as they said, was calling a legal expense in the books where everybody could see them, a legal expense. In other words, that legal fees or legal expense were put down as legal expense by accountants. They weren't put down by me, they were put down by accountants. I didn't call them construction, concrete work. I didn't call them electrical work. I didn't call them anything. They called a legal fee or a legal expense, and for this, I got indicted. It's incredible, actually. Now, if you look, my attorney alluded to it. The top legal scholars and legal pundits in this country, the ones that are quoted all the time on television, that are making their views felt, and highly respected people, have said, everyone, virtually everyone that I know of, I haven't seen any to the contrary, not one, and none of these people are not exactly friends of mine, to put it mildly. But they all said this is a case that should have never been brought. It's an injustice of justice. Very respected Jonathan Turley, Andy McCarthy, Judge David Rifkin, a wonderful man who just passed away, by the way.
What you gonna do? Trump got off
Jarrett, Ellie Honig from CNN, of all places.
This is probably
CNN
2025.
said that. Paul Ingrassia, Alan Dershowitz, they all said this is not a case that should be brought. It's not, think about it, legal expenses are down as legal expenses, and I get indicted for business records. Everybody should be so accurate. It's been a political witch hunt. It was done to damage my reputation so that I'd lose the election, and obviously that didn't work. And the people of our country got to see this firsthand because they watched the case in your courtroom. They got to see this firsthand, and then they voted, and I won and got the largest number of votes by far of any Republican candidate in history, and won, as you know, all 7 swing states, won conclusively all 7 swing states, and won the popular vote by millions and millions of votes. And they've been watching your trial, so they understood it. I wasn't allowed to use the lawyer-client privilege or the reliance on counsel. I had a lawyer that made this deal, and he admitted that. And he was also a totally discredited person. We weren't allowed to use the information from the Southern District that totally discredited him. It wasn't allowed to be put in. And that was terrible, unbelievable. And this is a man who's got no standing. He's been disbarred on other matters, unrelated. And he was allowed to talk as though he were George Washington. But he's not George Washington. He shouldn't have been allowed. The Southern District did a book of approximately 28 pages where they, I've never seen anything like it. They excoriated him. You wouldn't let it be put into evidence. So he was able to testify as a witness, and I think it's a disgrace to the system. I was under a gag order. I'm the first president in history that was under a gag order where I couldn't talk about aspects of the case that are very important. I guess I'm still under, so probably I won't do it now. I assume I'm still under a gag order.
Lace front. That's a different.
But the fact is that I'm totally innocent. I did nothing wrong. They talk about business records, and the business records were extremely accurately counted. I had nothing to do with them. That was done by an accountant, bookkeeper who I think gave very credible testimony and was corroborated by everybody that was asked. And with all that's happening in our country today, with a city that's burning to the ground, one of our largest, most important cities burning to the ground, with wars that are uncontrollably going on, with all of the problems of inflation and attacks on countries and all of the horrible things that are going on, I got indicted over calling a legal expense a legal expense. It was called a legal expense. I just want to say I think it's an embarrassment to New York, and New York has a lot of problems, but this is a great embarrassment. I believe that this and other cases that were brought, as you know, the DOJ is very much involved in this case. It's because that's the political opponent they're talking about. The DOJ is very involved. You have a gentleman sitting right there from the DOJ who was from the DOJ's office. He was also involved with the New York State Attorney General's case. And he went from there to here. He went around and did what he had to do. He got them to move on me. But in the meantime, I won the election in a massive landslide.
What it is. Not a lot of
commentary. The people of this
commentary.
country understand what's going on. This has been a weaponization of government. They call it lawfare. Never happened to any extent like this, but never happened in our country before. And I'd just like to exclaim that I was treated very, very unfairly. And I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Trump.
Weekly show.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe.
Yeah, I ain't doing all that. Y'all can click here and subscribe. Either way, I'm probably gonna wrap up this stream for now because I got real work to do. Right? So I appreciate everybody who's tapped in so far on the TikTok, on the YouTube, on the Twitch. Again, we may add Instagram later, but it's a wild week. I may actually stream again tonight. It may be some video gameplay. I got to put some WD-40 on the chair again. Still haven't done it. Don't blame it to my head, not my heart and my laziness, because I have a lot of things to do. I'm a one-man band, so even setting up my stream, I don't have a team. It's all me. But we're gonna make it all happen, you know. So thank you for tapping in, everybody who is here. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'll be having some content from this stream added to the YouTube channel. I've been told y'all Black Caucus is April 10th. I've been told y'all that. I just think it's kind of crazy as I wrap this up, thinking about it, that how can you be convicted, guilty of a jury, then you get sentenced and they sentence you to nothing, and this is the end all be all. You feel me? This is the end all be all of what it is. If you want America to change, it ain't changing on our watch. The rich gonna stay richer, the poor gonna stay poor, and it really depends on if you have the damn attorney to get your ass off in the first place. Either way, man, I'll be chopping this up. I'll be back on, maybe playing some Armored Forge after my next call. That'll be on my gaming channel, Hip Hop Lobbyist Gaming. I appreciate y'all though. I'm out. It says excellent condition. That's that. Is this? Alright, it says excellent condition. That's that. Is this? This is this. This is this. Alright, cool. So I don't have to end stream technically. Technically, I don't have to end stream. I'm just testing it out, man. If y'all still here on the stream, I'm not